Welcome to the Journey of Becoming. I'm your host, Karrie Mitten. Before we get started, a quick question. Are you ready to break through to your next level? Uplevel Your Life Consulting is where executive success meets soul-aligned strategy. If you're a high-performing professional or an entrepreneur who's accomplished a lot, but deep down knows there's more clarity, more impact, more freedom, more you, then this is your moment. Our executive coaching is for leaders who are ready to be seen more boldly and share their message without fear of rejection. Done with playing small and ready to pitch themselves for big stages and big impact. Tired of mindset blocks that bleed into their business and ready to rewrite the script. Or looking for a soul-centered guide who believes in their purpose as deeply as they do. With personalized coaching, deep inner work, and aligned strategy, we go beyond the surface to help you find your voice, claim your space, and lead from your truth. This isn't about doing more, it's about becoming more of who you truly are. Let's talk about what's possible for you. Book a free clarity call today, and let's create a bold vision for the next level of your becoming. Visit www.uplevelyourlifeconsulting.com to schedule your call today. Because you didn't come this far to only come this far. And now, on with the show. Our guest today is Monica Tanner, founder of Secrets of Happily Ever After and host of the podcast by the same name. She's a relationship coach who helps couples, especially the engaged and newlywed, to ditch resentment and roommate syndrome and build lasting connection through proven strategies for communication, conflict resolution, and commitment. With her podcast, new book, Bad Marriage Advice, and vibrant coaching community, Monica is on a mission to lower the divorce rate and help couples rediscover their happily ever after. Monica, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Carrie. I'm happy to be here.
So beautiful. I love this, taking the roommate syndrome out of the marriage. I love that. So take us back to a moment when you realized that there was something more for you, that you were on a journey and that you were stepping into your true purpose. What was the scenario there?
Yeah, well, you asked about I went back to school, so I am married. We've been married, my husband and I have been married for 23 years. We have four children. And when the youngest went to all-day kindergarten, I decided it was time for me to go back to school and do what I really love, which is working with couples. I have kind of been obsessed with relationships and marriage and what makes them happy and thriving and work. And I have parents that are therapists. And so I kind of knew I wanted to go into that field. So I went back to school and it turned out to be kind of a tough experience. It was hard for me to be away from my kids. All my classes were in the afternoon. So basically, my kids would get home from school and then I would be leaving to go to school until they were like in bed. So it was a kind of a strain on our family, but also I wasn't like super enamored with just the subject matter and the different theories of that we were learning. And I remember calling my mom just crying and just being like, this is so stupid. We're learning Freud and like Jung and like they're so outdated and she's like, it's okay. It's okay. You're going to forget all of that anyways and kind of make your own way. And I was like, why am I paying so much money working so hard if I'm just going to forget all this stuff anyways, right? Um, and so basically, after a year, I decided to drop out of that program. And I got super depressed because I am not a quitter. I knew what I wanted to do, I just didn't know how to do it.
Mhm.
And I have a really good friend who's a brilliant marketer, very successful, owns software company. And he came over to my house, sat on my couch, listened to me bawl baby about how I knew exactly what I wanted to do and who I wanted to serve, but I didn't know how to do it. And he suggested that I start a podcast. So that was how my podcast was born 7 years ago. And from there, I started interviewing experts, decided I could just be a coach instead of a therapist. And I have been coaching couples, creating content, and training in different modalities ever since. So it's been a lot of fun.
Beautiful. And I just want to interject here and say it's not being just a coach, right? A
Yeah.
coach has so much impact on people and there's two different camps. Therapy is, I believe,
Yes.
archaeology, digging up old stuff. Coaching is architecture, building
Yeah, that's a
things.
cool way I've never
Yeah.
heard anyone describe it that way. That's really cool. But I think what I was sad about was not having letters behind my name, like the official title. But
Yeah.
it's interesting because my mom, who's actually a PhD and has been practicing for over 40 years,
Hmm.
she is now more of a coach than a therapist. If you ask her what she does, she says, I coach.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you can make more money, there's less restrictions, so anyways, I think coaching is where it's at.
Yeah. Well, I love the pivot that you made when you listen to your intuition, you listen to your gut, you listen to your soul's calling, right? And really change the course of your life and your business, right? What are some of the mindset shifts that you were going through as you were moving into this new, really new career, right? It's a different pivot, from therapy to coaching. So, what
you
were some of
know
the mindset shifts?
yeah, I mean, it's interesting because for a while, I mean, I've always wanted to write a book. Like part of the reason I went back to school is because like I wanted to be able to put my name on a book with letters behind my name so that people would, think I was really smart and want to read my book. And so this marketer friend of mine was like, I've written lots of books and lots of people have read them, and I don't have any letters behind my name, right? He's like, Tony Robbins, no letters behind his name. I'm like, all right, cool. So that was really helpful. That was a good mindset shift. Like, you know what? If you know what you're talking about, people are going to listen, whether you have letters behind your name or not. So that was important. Feeling like a quitter was a difficult, just yeah, kind of thing to wrap my head around because I was like, no, I start something and I finish it. But I think it was letting go and pivoting more than quitting. So I had to kind of get that terminology out of my brain.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then I have actually, it's interesting because, yeah, when I immediately became a coach, I started helping couples, but anytime they would get like really deep, like something was really, like if we're talking affairs, addiction, anything like that, or they were like, we really are deeply considering divorce, I was like, ooh, let me refer you to somebody a little more qualified. So that was the first couple of years. And then I trained in a lot of different modalities, some of them therapeutic. And so now I do feel a lot more confident working with couples. I've worked with couples now who, have dealt with infidelity, dealing with addictions, on the verge of divorce, all of those things now. And I am trained in some trauma, trauma. I can do some trauma work and things like that. So I feel a lot more confident working with couples,
Hmm.
whether it's coaching or therapy or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of realizing, I think that the mindset shift is I can learn anything I want. There's no limit to what I study and and then I can get really good at helping couples no matter where they're at. And if I can't help them, I have a phenomenal list of, vetted professionals that I can, refer to. So,
Well, what I love about that story, Monica, is that is your journey of becoming, right? That you take action, and when you recognize that there's more that you can do here, you can
mhm.
support your clients even in a higher level. That is your journey of becoming, right? It's not just, like I was just sharing with another client that, I just came off a retreat in Costa Rica.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it was an incredible experience for me, everything that I learned, I'm a conduit for my clients, right? Everything every time that I up level my training, receive another certification, or do something for myself that is soul led, that is just yeah, what's the word I'm looking for?
You can pass it along. Yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of ekes out of me, right? It's just part of who I am now, right? And so I love that is part of your journey, is continuing to up level your knowledge, up level your certifications, do the things that are, that your clients are looking for. So that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So tell me, is there something in your life other than, not finishing your master's degree? What led you to being a relationship coach?
You know, I think I mean I just grew up in fairy tale land. I felt like, I used to flip my hair like Belle in the pool and dance around or I'm sorry, like Ariel, and dance around my house like Belle. I just believed in happily ever after, and I felt like I had, such a happy home life until I was 12 and my parents announced that they were getting a divorce, and it just kind of like shattered my whole world. Like, wait a second, that's not supposed to happen. And so even at that very young age of 12, I kind of committed to like figuring out like how do people stay happy forever, like and looking around me was kind of sad, like people, my own family, my friends, people's parents didn't seem real happy, like, from my perspective, as a young child, it just looked like people worked really hard, they kind of just did life together and they just kind of tolerated each other, which I was like, that's not what I want. And so when I went to college, I studied marriage and family. And, my plan was to get my MSW, but I did meet my husband. And it was kind of like this undeniable chemistry. And I was like, well, I've been studying this. I've figured it out. Right. And then we got married and we had some really difficult challenges and seasons. And I was like, wow, I studied a lot of things, but now I'm in, the crucible of it and like really figuring it out. So yeah, I mean, once my kids were old enough, I was like, yeah, this is my calling. I know I'm supposed to help couples live happily ever after, and I'm practicing all of it right here in my own little classroom, so I don't ever think of myself as like the expert, like I know more than anyone else. I'm just right here alongside, learning as I go as well.
In the trenches. Yeah, I mean, I often, say that we coach because we're in it, right? Like that we've lived this and not that we're, all of us out there are coaches, but we bring our experiences into everything that we do and we use that. And I like to share with my clients, we use that as curriculum
Hmm.
for our becoming, right? For our growth and our evolution. Yeah. Um, so, what is it, what is keeping you, what is the next level of your becoming? And what is something that may be an obstacle for you in doing
Hmm.
that?
Great question. I mean, it's taken me this long to write a book. I finally did write a book.
Beautiful.
It's coming out
Congratulations.
next month. Very, very excited about it. It's been a cool process.
Mhm.
But it was kind of brought on by my oldest son getting married very, very young. But I don't have really a leg to stand on because his dad and I were 22 when we got married, and my son and his bride were 21, so not too far off. But
Mhm.
I, when he said, "Mom, I want to get married," I panicked a little. I was like, "Wait, you can't possibly know this girl very well. Like, what are you doing? Like, I have so much to tell you and warn you and teach you." And so I went to write him a little letter, and it turned into a book. And he's been married for a couple of months now, and I'm really excited to get this book into their hands because it really is so much of my becoming, of learning what I learned about marriage, and not only from my own marriage, but also from my clients, and just walking through life. And so, I think the next stage of me becoming is learning how to parent married children and learning how to love my grandchildren, and doing that, getting to do that with my husband. And so a lot of fun things, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's, you never stop learning or becoming.
That's right. That's right. And I'm learning that right now. My son got, well, actually, they're having our third grandbaby in August.
Oh,
So
that's
very
so
excited. Yeah.
fun.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, so how do you manage fear and self-doubt when that creeps into your journey?
Fear and self-doubt are a funny thing because the reality is it can't, they're just emotions and they can't really hurt you. And
Mhm.
once you learn how to, kind of feel them and put them in the passenger seat, you can really do anything. And it's the same, I think a lot of couples struggle with just operating through life in their knee-jerk reaction, which what I call the adaptive child, right? So we learn growing up kind of how to adapt to whatever situation we are raised in. And a lot of those adaptations are really useful when we're young. They keep us safe and protected and get us the things that we need and want in life. But then when we use them in our adult relationships, they're not so adaptive. They kind of wreak a lot of havoc. And so it's the same thing I teach my clients how to recognize their adaptive children, to see them, show them some love, but strap them into the passenger seat so they can be in charge, right? Your adaptive child is on the journey with you, but they don't get to drive the car. And that's how I see fear as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you mentioned in your application, you're looking at the next level, the next few years, speaking on stages, promoting relationship skills. What does that look like for you? What would you love to?
Gosh, I mean, I have two of my children have left my home, they're graduated or married. Two of my children are still at home. I was just talking with you before this episode, but I have a junior who's, wants to play college sports. And so that's kind of all encompassing and really fun right now. So, I'm not ready to travel around the country and speak on a bunch of stages and do all of the things that is required there. I still have a lot of responsibilities at home. So I love what I'm doing. I love working with my couples. But in about 4 years, I'll be an empty nester and my husband will still be working. And so I would love to travel around the world and speak to married couples all over the place and, teach good relational skills that are not taught really in a lot of places. So, yeah, I mean, I think that would be amazing.
And what if it could be easy, right? What if it could
Yeah.
be easy? What if you can do all those things?
What if it's the natural next step?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. So looking back at everything that you've gone through, all the breakthroughs, all the, the stuff in order to have the success that you're having, what's one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is on their journey of becoming, who knows that there's something more and maybe is it kind of in their stuff right now? What's one piece
Mm.
of advice that you would love to share?
Well, knowing what I know about your audience, I would say one of the biggest challenges, especially for female entrepreneurs who have big, big visions and dreams,
Mhm.
is, dealing with guilt for, maybe not being at home or putting effort somewhere else other than raising their children. And then sometimes there's a lot of friction that comes from their spouses and they want more support. And sometimes they feel like they have to burn the midnight oil in order to do their own thing. And I would just say, don't give up on your dreams. Don't compromise. There should be room in your marriage and in your family for everybody to really become the best versions of themselves. But it does take skill. It does take some relational skills. It does take some, learning how to share your dreams and your visions with your spouse and with your kids so that there's buy-in and they can support you and they know it's coming and they know how to support you. So, I would say don't give up on your dreams. Like you'll regret that. Definitely go after the things that you've been called to do. But get some help, get some coaching, get some skill around it because you can blow up your business without blowing up the things that are most important to you.
Right. Yeah. I echo that absolutely 1,000%. And and if you don't go after your dream, it's unlived life. And that's what you're being called into. And I believe it's a sacred invitation, right? No matter what that looks like, everybody's is different. But if you don't go after the one thing for which you have been sent, it's as if you've done nothing. So yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Monica, for being with us today. I know that our listeners are going to love to hear your story of transformation, all your breakthroughs, and the success that you're having today. So, thank you so much. Before we wrap up, where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your work?
Yeah, thank you so much. So you can find all about me on my website at monicatanner.com is my name. And I'm very active on Instagram at Moni Talks Marriage. As well as you can find out about my book that's coming out real soon at www.badmarriageadvice.com.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that title.
Good.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you for being here today. I know your story is going to just resonate with all of our listeners, and inspire them to take action on their dreams. So, for everyone tuning in, remember your journey of becoming starts with taking that one brave step. So, take it today. Until next time, keep embracing your transformation.
Thanks, Carrie.